The menu during the holiday season can be a challenge. The search for the perfect dessert to top off a dinner can be daunting. Chef Heather Schneider is here with us to teach us how to make sweet potato cake. Thanks for being on the show with us today,
You're
Heather.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're fairly new at your position at the North Dakota Museum of Art. Now, where were you before?
I was at Amazing Grains before.
Okay. What made you decide to move over then?
Well, I just love the North Dakota Museum of Art. It's such a fun place. We have the cafe, but then there's a huge art studio as well with lots of fun exhibits. We have a fun little shop there. I'm wearing a necklace there that we saw at the shop. So it's just a great atmosphere, and it was a fun new challenge.
Different food?
Different food. It's more of a restaurant vibe. So we have fun specials every day, 2 soups made from scratch.
That's great. So what got you interested in cooking originally?
Well, I come from a family where we did a lot of entertaining, so we had a choice. You could help clean or help cook, and I decided I was going to help cook.
Now, I understand you worked out in a restaurant in California for a while. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience out there and how you grew as a cook?
Well, I was working at a restaurant, waiting tables to help pay for college, and I just had such an interest of cooking that I was constantly had my head in the kitchen asking questions. So finally the chef said, why don't you just start working back here? So he was great and taught me so much, and from then on I went to all different kinds of kitchens and learned as much as I could.
So why'd you come back to North Dakota after being on the West Coast?
You know, my husband and I are both Grand Forks natives, and we were ready to settle down and start a family, and we decided to come back home.
Yeah. So what are you making for us today?
We are going to do a sweet potato cake. Okay. So we're going to take it to batter form, and from there you could do a cake, cupcakes, mini cupcakes, whatever you like.
All right. Now, I've heard of sweet potato pie, but never a cake. Where'd you get this recipe from?
You know, I look online, lots of different cooking blogs. This one I've had for a few years. I think I took it from Food Network.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, go for it.
All right, so we're going to start with our dry ingredients.
All right.
We're going to do 2 cups of flour. Now this is pre-sifted. That is an important thing.
Okay.
You want to make sure your flour is nice and sifted so you don't have those little clumps. And we'll do about 1 2/3 cups of sugar.
Okay. So you're doing all the dry ingredients first?
All the dry first.
Okay.
And then our leavening agent is a little bit of baking soda and baking powder. And then we've got some salt here.
Okay.
About 1 teaspoon salt, and then 2 teaspoons cinnamon, and that's going to give it a lot of good flavor.
All right. Now, do you stir this and then add the wet stuff? Or
Yeah, so I'm going to get it nice and incorporated here, make sure everything's mixed in.
Okay. Yeah, the flour does look a lot thinner.
Yeah.
And it's
So then you don't, and at this point you could sift it too, but I like to do my flour first.
okay.
So there we go, we got that all mixed together, and then we move on to our wet.
So is there a step that could make or break this recipe?
Yes, if you threw everything in the bowl and then tried to mix it, you're not going to get it evenly mixed. So it really is key to separate the wet and the dry.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so we'll start with our sweet potatoes, and we'll add these.
Now, how do you know if you have a good sweet potato?
Well, you know, if you're buying a fresh sweet potato, you want to make sure that they're nice and firm, no noticeable blemishes. But I have to tell you, I've done this both ways, with fresh and with canned, and you can't tell. So save yourself the trouble and just do canned.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and we've got 4 eggs here.
No, those, you said those are farm fresh eggs too?
Farm fresh eggs, and that's one thing with ingredients. You want to get the best ingredients you can. So you can tell with these eggs that the color is just so much nicer, and the freshness is there.
So why are great ingredients important, do you think?
That's what makes the difference in your food. You know, you have one cake, another. What's going to make the difference? It's going to be what's in it. So I'm all about the fresh ingredients. Fresher the better.
Great. All right.
So, and then we have 1 cup of canola oil here. This is what's going to add, this cake is so moist, that's what's going to give us our moisture. And then we have a little bit of vanilla here, and this is kind of a little secret ingredient here. Whenever I add vanilla to something, I also add a little bit of almond.
Why is
because
that?
it just gives it this extra flavor. Sometimes you wonder what it is, and just makes it a little more sweet.
So you do this for cookies and everything that you
Everything that has vanilla, just a little almond too. So then we mix this up, make sure that it's well blended, and absolutely you could do this with your, if you have a KitchenAid mixer at home, but I think it's fun to get a little workout when you're cooking too. Why not?
How come you're not using a whisk?
We definitely could use a whisk here too if you'd like, just to make sure it's evenly blended.
Okay. Now, how many can this cake feed?
You could do 48 little cupcakes if you wanted. You could, or you could do 24 regular cupcakes.
Okay.
And it bakes off in a 13 by 9 inch pan too.
Okay, all right.
So that looks pretty well blended there.
Perfect.
So now we're gonna slowly add the wet to the dry here.
So you don't do it all at once?
Just right, if you get a nice well there in the middle, put it in, and then we'll just kind of slowly blend it together. You don't want to overwork it either. That's how sometimes you can get some tough cakes. No one wants that.
Okay.
So we just fold it all in till it's smooth, and then you can bake it off. And you could top it with a nice frosting. You could do, I like to do a maple cream cheese frosting.
Yum.
With some maybe candy pecans on top. Or if you don't want to do a frosting, it's really nice with some dried cherries in there with the pecans too, and it makes kind of a nice bar that way too.
Do you do your icing homemade?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Looks yummy.
Yeah, so it's as easy as that, and this stores really well in the fridge too. If you wanted to just bake up 6 fresh cupcakes one day and then save the batter and do some fresh ones the next day, you could do that too.
Okay, great. Ice cream with it sometimes?
Oh, that would be good. Some vanilla ice cream.
So we have a picture up here of the final product. So those are the little cupcake versions, correct? And how big did you say the cake was?
The cake can be in either a 13 by 9 inch pan, or you could do 2 9-inch pans too. I've done it as a layered cake. It presents really well that way too.
Okay, great. Do you serve this at the North Dakota Museum of Art then?
We do. We've had this on our dessert menu, and people love it.
Holiday special, or is that kind of a regular thing?
We keep a rotation. I think it's nice in the summer too.
Okay. Now back to when we were talking about ingredients. Is there one ingredient in your cooking that you tend to use for everything?
You know, I really like cumin. It's kind of this nice little accent that will give anything kind of a depth of flavor. So just a little bit goes a long way.
Now, is it a popular
You know,
ingredient?
I read somewhere that it is the second most popular spice ahead of pepper. Goes salt, cumin, pepper.
I would never guess that.
I know.
All right, well, this looks delicious, and I wish that we had a cake we can make right now in the
Next
oven.
time. Or come see me at the museum and you can have some for dessert.
Perfect. All right, thanks, Heather.